Hello, everyone. Welcome to the T.chelle show. I am your host, Torrancemarchil. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day today. I know that I am. And welcome to the first episode of the first season of the T.chelle show. So, you're probably wondering, what is the T.chelle show? What is this? Who is this girl? What's going on here? And I'm here to answer that for you today. So, let's go ahead and get into it. So, first of all, who is T.chelle? Who is Torrancemarchil? I am a 29-year-old mother of two. Yes, two. I have been walking with the Lord seriously since about 2017, but I've known him in some capacity all my life, and I started actually seeking him in 2014 when I was like 19. But yeah, I've seriously started walking with him at the age of, I don't know, 21 or something, however old I was in 2017. I was like 22, 23. So yeah, I'm 29 now, and my walk with the Lord has been very interesting. I've lived a lot of life, or I've had a lot of life experiences in my 29 years of life. And that's kind of what this podcast is going to be about, but we'll get more into that a little bit later. What I want to share with you is the background of the podcast, how it even came about. Like I said, back in 2017, I got saved, and I was living a life. Well, you know how it is when you first get saved, right? You're like in the in-between stages. So you're living a life that is not necessarily glorifying God or that makes him happy, but you're coming out of agreement with that. You're trying to change. So I got saved specifically after I had my first child. I had a bit of a health scare, and the Lord put it on my heart to go vegan. That's when What the Health came out. It was really popular. I'd been vegan before for a short time just to try it out, but I was serious this time because I had some health issues, and again, I just felt the Lord telling me to do that. And so with that life change came a newfound passion. I am from the South. Okay, so in the South, we eat how we eat. We don't necessarily eat healthy, but I just was so enamored by the health and wellness community, everything health and wellness, like the food, what herbs can do, like everything. And I was also kind of obsessed because I had a child, and so I wanted to make sure that he had the cleanest of the cleanest everything. And so that led me to kind of regurgitate a lot of the information that I had retained, and also create products and things like that. Just experimenting with like soaps, handmade soaps, facial washes, toners, things like that. And I would use my coworkers at the time as my like guinea pigs, but they were more than happy to do so, you know. So I made things, brought it to them, they gave me their feedback, and I was just so excited about the whole thing. And so at that time, I had a coworker who was a really good friend of mine now. Some other coworkers who were my friends at the time, and just other people in my life told me, you know, you should start a YouTube channel. You are full of so much knowledge. You really love this stuff. We learn stuff from you for the free, so you might as well make some money from it. And I was just like, I don't know. I just don't know. I was really hesitant about it. On top of that, though, I felt the Lord pushing me to start a business. And I'm from a family where there are no big dreamers in my family. And if they are, no one has executed anything, right? So like the peak of success for my family has always been, you know, as far as I can see, just be like middle class, you know, be middle class, make the money, be able to pay your bills, maybe take a trip or two every year, and that's it. Just go to college or the military, work, retire, die in a nutshell. So dreaming big in that aspect is foreign to me. I had never seen anybody run and operate a business. I didn't know what that was like. So the Lord telling me that was very scary because I'm not a dreamer. I can't do this. Even still, I considered these things and I went ahead and, did the research possible to learn how to start a business, all of the paperwork that was needed, everything YouTube, and I just could not get behind it, essentially. I was too scared. And so life went on and life changed. And as life changed, I was very unhappy with every aspect of my life, truthfully, honestly. And every now and again, I would go back to those things. Like those two things specifically never left my mind. So I'd revisit it probably like every year, once a year, once every 2 years, something like that. And I'd be like, I should really start this business. Like I should really start this YouTube. But every time I came back to it, what I wanted for my business and for YouTube changed slightly because I was changing. And, it just never amounted to anything. So time goes by. Then 2023 happens. And if you know, like if you had a year like I had, do you know 2023 was extremely challenging, extremely hard, extremely difficult. It was what it was, right? So 2023, I really found myself unhappy and at my wit's end with everything. And one of the things the Lord talked to me about was, if you're not going to be obedient to me now, you're going to always be unhappy. You're going to live a life of unhappiness, not being fruitful, not being purposeful, and I won't be able to use you the way I want to because you're being disobedient. And so that's a whole nother episode for another day. But essentially, I ended up leaving my job, making a move of faith, and the Lord really put on me, write down the vision, the plan for the business that I gave you. And so I did that. I actually did that before I left my job. And so I had everything set, right? The ideas, like what I wanted, everything. I had everything lined up, set. I just needed the money. Now, even with the job that I had, I did not have the money to put into that business. But now, without the job, I definitely don't have the money to put into the business. So, again, all of this is a faith walk, right? So I'm jobless, but I have a business plan. And so I didn't really revisit the YouTube thing as of yet because I just didn't know what I would put on there. But at this point, I'm on Instagram making reels and I'm trying to do what works and I'm trying to still do what I like. But what I like is changing. And what I know that works doesn't really align with what I want to do. And at this point in the year, I'm so kind of fed up with all the fluff that's on social media, right? So like at this point, and even then, I appreciate a good aesthetic, nicely put together Instagram reel, TikTok, YouTube video. I appreciate all of that. I appreciate the creativity, the art, the work, the dedication that goes behind it. I do. But at that time, I just was really feeling bothered by the fact that I'm going through a tough season right now. And yes, the Lord sends me encouragement in the avenues he chooses to. But I'm like, I know there are other people who are going through a similar situation or have gone through a similar situation or will go through a similar situation. And where is that person that they need to get through this? Right? So of course you need Jesus. Girl, you not get through it without Jesus or guy, whoever's listening. But it's so important, I feel like, to have some form of fellowship during those times. Because it can feel so lonely. And it's actually perfect for when you're in times of isolation where the Lord doesn't really want you with just anyone. but it's okay to still hear a word from the Lord or some form of encouragement or anything of the sort. And so I'm just like, none of this stuff really matters in the grand scheme of things. I appreciate your Sephora haul, but I don't care. It's not important. I love the DIY kitchen reel. Thank you for it, but it's not important. None of this is important. A lot of people are feeling how I feel and even worse, right? And where are our people? And I'm sure there are people who have this in real life. They have that fellowship or they are in churches. My background is that I've never really fully been committed to a church long term. So I've never really had church community like that. So I've always kind of sort of been a lone ranger. The Lord did bless me with some believer friends at a certain time, and I'm appreciative for it, but I live very far from them, so I don't have that luxury. So it's important to have people to relate to who understand you, who understands what you're going through, how you're feeling, and who is not going to give you fluff, cliche fluff. Now, look, this is what I mean. If I'm going through a wilderness season, which many of us have or many of us will, right? I know all of that stuff. I know all the things. I know to cast your care upon the Lord. I know to pray and seek him. I know all of the Christian cliches, right? That has nothing to do with how I'm feeling right now. I need to know I'm not the only person experiencing this. This is not new to me. I need to know that someone's gone through this and they've gotten through it and now they're in a better place. So that is the purpose of this, right? So I was kind of feeling that way. And then towards the end of 2023, the Lord really put on my heart to start a podcast. Now, this is something that was confirmed to me through a brother in Christ of mine and through other ways as well. And I was like, I could do a podcast because that also protects my family. I'm all for social media work and content creation and that being your means. But I want to protect my family. So vlogging, I don't want to do that because I want to be able to live my life apart from this. And I want to protect my children. I don't want people knowing my children, like, if this blow up now, if this just blow up how I think it's going to blow up, I don't want to be going to the grocery store and people recognize my children and are pestering them and bothering them because you love them. But they are just children living regular life. So I want to protect my family. So vlogs were not for me. And so to me, it just naturally made sense to just go ahead and do the podcast because I can add value to the world in some way by sharing my experiences and talking about things that matter. I can protect my family and God can get the glory, right? So I'm okay. I could do the podcast. And for a minute, I almost started the podcast with another sister in the Lord, a dear sister of mine. I appreciate her a lot. But I understood very quickly that it was not going to be as seamless as I thought it was going to be. I was going to have to really compromise, and it was just going to be something that wasn't as fun for me. And honestly, I've never done anything just on my own, right? I've always shared something with someone. So this is really the first of the first thing that I have that's mine, that the Lord gifted me. And so I wanted to be able to really have creative control. So that didn't go anywhere, thankfully. And December 2023, the Lord really started pouring into me. He gave me the name for the show. He gave me the theme, the podcast art. He really made it make sense to me. So after getting all of that, I'm like, okay, well, it's time to launch. So December of 2023 is really when I give birth to the podcast, thanks to the Lord. And so here I am now on the T.chelle show, speaking to you guys and hoping that you guys learn something from me. Kind of like a big sister type of thing, or, whatever you need in your faith walk. And I don't want this to just be a one-way street. I want you guys to communicate with me as well. Share with me the things you have learned. Talk to me about your faith walks. Whatever topics come up, if you have a story that relates to it, an experience you've had, share it with me, share it with others, so that we can cultivate this community that is a safe space to talk about everything pertaining to life and faith. And what I see is in the faith, no shade to anybody. I'm not, picking on nobody, but a lot of the time you can get really cookie cutter advice, for one. For two, a lot of people talk about the breakthroughs and the blessings and all the good that God has done. And that's a good thing. We need that. It's encouragement for others. Even if it's not encouragement, as a believer, you're just happy to see God work in other people's lives. You're just happy to see that. So there's always a place for blessings and testimonies, right? But I feel like this walk can get really ugly and really seemingly dark and gritty and depressing sometimes. And I feel like we don't talk about that enough. I don't think that it's equally balanced with the breakthroughs and the blessings that we see. And I think in this generation especially, we need more of that. I am a millennial, but if I was born 2 months later, I would have been Gen Z. So me being a young millennial, I grew up similarly to most Gen Z kids or adults, young adults we see today. So I can relate to a lot of their pressures. I can relate to a lot of their struggles. I get it, right? But just taking me and just the people that I see who are around my age, we don't just want a bunch of fluff. We want the real. Tell us the real, because that's what's going to help me get through this. This is what's going to help me really understand where I'm at, how to navigate this, and to embrace it. If I just get a bunch of fluff and I'm going through it, crying my eyes out every day, and you're just telling me, trust in the Lord. Yes, I understand that. And I'm doing that to the best of my ability. But do you understand me? Am I heard? And so that is what I'm here for, is what God placed me here for. This is where I want to cultivate that type of community. I'm not going to be for everybody. I'm not going to be for every believer. That's fine. But I'm for who I'm for. And so I just want to be a blessing to everybody that I'm for. So that is the background of the podcast, how it came about. The Lord put it on me years ago. I didn't listen. Finally listened. 2023, December 2023, January 2024, or whenever this launches, here I am. So that is just the background of that. Now, what can you expect from me? I kind of talked about that already, but what you can expect from me is a weekly podcast talking about various topics. And it's not always going to be faith, right? It can be things like money or fashion. I don't know, like stuff like that. It doesn't always have to be faith, right? But it's a place where we can talk honestly about a variety of things. And though I will have topics that the Lord gives me, or just topics that I think are a good idea and that I feel like I can speak on, feel free to send me topics and ideas and things that you really want me to speak on, or you want my perspective on, and I will take it to the Lord. And if it's something that He gives me wisdom about, or that I know I can speak about, then I will. If not, I might just keep it in the chamber to talk about at the right time, or I might just, not talk about it at all. It just depends, because I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything, right? But hey, I want to cultivate that, like I said, that community where we talk, we communicate. You can find me on YouTube. You might already be listening on YouTube, but if not, you can find me on YouTube at the T.chelle Show. And in the comments, feel free to share your experiences, your thoughts, your opinions, anything pertaining to the topic at hand, a word of encouragement, anything to me, to other brothers and sisters. Talk freely amongst each other. I want that, you know? So yeah, you can find me on YouTube. You can also find me on Pinterest, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at Torrancemarchil. That is spelled, excuse me, that is spelled Torrancemarchil. And you can find this podcast everywhere all podcasts are. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Google. I believe this is going to be on SoundCloud as well. Everything will be in the description box below. But that is essentially the conclusion of this show, today's show. I am very excited to be doing this. I'm excited for what's to come. I'm excited for the community that will come with this. I'm excited for everything. So yeah, check me out on all the socials. Stay tuned for the next episode. Have a great day.